I'm going to be sharing what we use for our family subject curriculum in our homeschool. These are going to be all of the picks for our upcoming homeschool year. What you will find out is we do a lot of our subjects together as family subjects, especially my two older daughters. This video is part of a collaboration hosted by Davine from Calm in the Chaos and Shauna from Homegrown Homeschool. I will link both Davine and Shauna's channels down below and the entire playlist that they put together. So after you watch this video, go check out the playlist and see what other families are using for their family homeschool subjects. So like I mentioned, a lot of what we just use is family subjects. Something that we figured out this year is that my daughters enjoy doing a lot of their subjects together. We will have a 5th grader and 3rd grader, and then I also will be having a pre-K-er. As far as my pre-K-er, he will join in sometimes. I normally can find like a coloring page or a cut and paste activity that goes along the lines. If we're reading a book, like a story, a picture book, or watching a video, he really likes joining in on those, but more specifically I'll be talking about my 5th and 3rd grade and how we make those work for both those age levels. If you've seen my other curriculum pick videos, then none of this should surprise you, but hopefully it kind of gives you a better understanding of how we use it. So one of the first subjects that we do as a family is history. For history this upcoming year, I'm kind of piecing together my own unit study curriculum. We're going to be using resources like the Tuttle Twins American History book and the Evan Moore History Pockets, as well as some other resources. I feel like at these younger age, it's really easy to combine history until you get into like the older middle school, high school years, where then if you're working towards a credit or something. So I try to keep them together in this subject as long as possible. And on that same note, we also do science together. And so this year we're using Apologia's Earth Science. What I really like about Apologia is they have tons of different science options, and it goes from 1st grade to 6th grade. And they have different like journal add-ons for the different levels. So one of my daughters can use the journal notebook and the other one can use the older edition of the. We also do some language arts subjects together, which is not super common because normally language arts is more grade specific, but it's been working out really well having my daughters do this subject together. So we use IEW, Structure and Style. This does range this level from 3rd to 5th grade, so it's a little advanced for my 3rd grader and right on track with my 5th grader. And kind of how I adapted is we do move a little bit slower through the lessons over the course of the week, and I just hold my oldest to a little bit different of a standard than my youngest. We also use Beowulf's Grammar. We did try to use Fix-It Grammar, and I really like Fix-It Grammar. I just thought my kids needed a better overall foundation before we jumped into Fix-It Grammar. So we have been using Beowulf Grammar. I believe this is the teacher's manual, so I don't think it says, but I want to say it's meant for grades 2 to 6, and you can kind of adapt it. And that's what we do. I go a little bit more in depth on things from my older daughter and keep things pretty minimal for my younger daughter, and we kind of just adapt to that. My oldest can help her, and so they're both getting kind of what they need out of this. Now, what we may do is once we're done with this is go into Fix-It Grammar. I still haven't decided if they will do that together or if I'll just put my older daughter in Fix-It Grammar and then keep doing other grammar things with my 3rd grader, but I will keep you guys updated on that. We also use word roots. I don't know where it is because we're using it right now. It's probably somewhere in our homeschool room, but I'll pop a picture up. So word roots is like a spelling vocabulary. It's a unique approach to it where we really learn how to break down words by their root, their prefix, and their suffix. And so we are starting with the beginning level. And again, we're doing that with both of my daughters. Something that I do for my older daughter to kind of adapt is those words, she does have like spelling tests on them. So the words that we're learning to break apart and stuff, she adds them to like her spelling word list that we get from other things. And she is tested on those. My soon-to-be third grader, some of the words I may add, but then she just normally continues her spelling word list from whatever unit study that we're working on. And now that brings me to something else we do together as a family is unit studies. We love unit studies and we do tons of them in our homeschool. We normally are working on at least 2 at a time, and we use unit studies from like Moving Beyond the Page. So if we use those unit studies or a literature guide unit study, because we're normally reading a book, that also will include like vocabulary and spelling words. So even though we don't have like a formal I guess language arts curriculum for like grammar or for spelling and vocabulary, pulling from all those different resources really does bring it full circle. Now, obviously I had those other things to show you, but I already shared those. And so what I really wanted to focus this video on was what unit studies we're going to be doing as a family, because those are always super exciting. But it's still April and that's a long time away. And so I have not fully decided, and I really don't plan to fully decide all of the units we're going to be doing next year. A problem I got myself into last year is I bought all of these unit studies at once with the intention to work through them. But what happens is new unit studies come in, things change, or your kids develop an interest and you really want to go more in depth with that. And so I don't want to this early on pre-plan too many unit studies because one, we have a ton we still need to work through, and we're still working through them right now in this current year. You know, it's hard sometimes to judge how fast you're going to be able to get through a unit study, and so as we're finishing up a unit study, then I'm picking the next one. So I'm doing that very loosely, which is not normal for me because I like to plan very far in advance, but it's what's been working best, and we've just been getting through unit studies. I was trying to think like how many unit studies we've done this year, and it has to be over 10 because we've just loved them. So we are doing tons of unit studies next year. I have a couple examples to show you. Some of these we still could be doing this year. I honestly don't know, but just as examples. So we really like the unit studies from Barefoot Within the Tree. So this is the newest one, is Echo Mountain. However, they have their 2023 release list and they have so many amazing unit studies. And so I already know that those are going to be something that we're going to be working on over the next year. So those, I know that we're going to be working on them. They're just not released yet. And so we'll kind of just trinkle them in as they get released and as I see them fitting in. We also really like the Moving Beyond the Page units. And so I have a bunch of them that I bought. And then there's other ones because right now we are using the 7 to 9 age range, which is fine. But they have an 8 to 10 range that I don't have any from. So I'll probably pick up a couple from that, and then this I have a couple from the 9 to 11 age range. So just depending, like I said, like what topics we're on, what interest is how I will kind of pick those. Now these are pretty good because we can get through one of these in 3 weeks, and we normally do 2 at a time, so that's 2 every 3 weeks. Now they are a little pricey to do that, so that's why I kind of use them in conjunction with other units. But we do really like them. And one of the other family type things is reading. And so I have a child that loves to read, that reads in her free time. And then I have a child that does not do that, does not enjoy reading. And that's okay. I know I don't have the only child that doesn't like reading books. And so what I've learned is that having reading involved in our family subjects is how I can get that child to read, and they enjoy it during that time. So we will have books that either go with our unit studies. So Barefoot in the Trees does literature guides. So like this would be one. So we would read this book and do this unit study. Leave me on the page the same way. So there's a literature book that goes with this that we read and then complete it. So that is really how I get that reading in for sure, is doing unit studies kind of based on that. So we're always reading through a book. I do actually have a list of books that I think I want us to read over the next year. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be matching those books up with what unit studies we have, or finding literature guide type things to go along with those. And once I have that list, that's when I will share it with you guys. I'm really trying, because I have so much stuff. I have so many unit studies. I have so many books, that I really am trying to be like repurposeful and use the stuff that I bought and that I have. And so I already asked both my kids to go to our bookshelves and pick a book that they want to read. So they both picked a book, and so I'm kind of just figuring out, like, is there unit guides to go with them, like discussion questions, or is it just going to be a read aloud? Like, how is this going to work? I also really like both my kids to have copies of the book. Sometimes I buy 2 copies, especially from like thrift books, because you can normally get both the copies for the price of a brand new one. Or I will buy 1 copy, get the second copy from our library. And then, so sometimes they read aloud doing that, or sometimes they listen to the audiobook. But either way, I found for my kids, them both having a physical copy of the book to follow along in works best in our homeschool. You saw our history, our science, our language arts, which we pretty much do together. There are aspects of language arts, such as like handwriting, that they do on their own. Math is on their own. And they both do independent foreign languages on their own. But pretty much we tend to do a lot of school together, because it just has worked out so well. With the subjects, and then adding in all those different unit studies, which I will be sharing as we go through all of those. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, hearing what we use for our family subjects for the upcoming school year. Don't forget, this is a collab, so go check out Shauna and Daveen's channels down below, and the entire playlist if you need some ideas of how what other homeschool families do for their family subjects. Have a great day, guys. Bye.